Sec. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Dave Wood, and this is just going to be kind of a freestyle rant here. I got to keep my voice down because I just did a video, so my voice is a little bit hoarse. But I want you to pay attention to this video because and whatever it is manifest in your life. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this through the series of telling you some stories. And I want you to pay attention to these stories because I'm going to share with you some stories about some things that I've been able to do. And I also want you to hear, real quick. Well, before I do that, I'm going to tell you this story. A long time ago, I was in Alaska. And I was in this network marketing company, and I was knocking on doors. Again, my voice is a little bit hoarse. This is years ago, right? So I'm in this deal, and I'm inviting people as I'm talking. I'm in this MLM deal, and I'm prospecting, right? So I don't know if you've ever been in one of those think of talking to. You ask them, "What do I do now?" And then what they tell you is well, it's time to wander around in Walmart. It's time to wander around in Safeway. It's time to go and talk to random people in random businesses all day and all night. That's going to make everything different for you. And when you talk to that one person, everything in your life is going to change. And when you talk to that one prospect, this is going to be the prospect that is going to change. Like, you're going to sponsor somebody, and then they're going to get 5 people, and then you're going to have like 4 million people down the line. 5 are going to get 5 are going to get 5, and then just a few levels down, you've got basically everybody in North America. And in fact, if you meet this one person by just going out one more day, maybe you're going to meet the person that grows your business, and your business will spread like the coronavirus is. Who would like to see the ratios that the coronavirus is spreading with in a business that you're building? That's actually where it's nice to see exponential growth ratios. Not that I would encourage you to model that or anything like that, but the interesting thing about a virus is a virus just spreads. There's no judgment on it. There's another person until it's kind of taken its course and it's spread to everybody that it can touch, right? All right, I'm going to stop inviting people here for a little bit. So just kind of like jump around. What's up, Scott? What's up, Paul? What's up, Mark? Right, Shalom. Good to see you. Right, so when an idea or when an energy is ready to hit the marketplace, and when people are ready to receive it, what happens is it will jump in a very similar manner to that. It'll jump from person to idea. It'll jump from organization to organization like it sometime soon, because ultimately my heart loves the schemes. But the thing is that when an idea hits, and when a series of ideas hit, it's like they mesh into these perfect circumstances at the right time, and everything lines up in a row as if it was mystically placed there. It's like your higher power is just lining up one step after another step, after another step, after another step. And then there's like this stairway, and this stairway, of course, not to use any lingo from the song, but the stairway, of course, leads to heaven. It leads to your dreams. It leads to the next destination that you've always wanted to reach. It leads to the place in your life where you have everything, where you feel everything, where everything in your life is working in a perfect synchronicity, where bit by bit by bit, step by step by step by step, to lead you into the destination that you want to be in. So literally, you have exactly what it is that you've always now wanted in your life. It's like it appears in front of you just like that. I remember a long time ago, I was in this network marketing deal. I'm going to tell some stories from this because I have some good stories here. And I was with my brother, because nobody's even doing things like that right now. Like, it's just shut down worldwide. It's like, even if you think it's a bad idea, but you're doing it anyway, it's like you kind of got to stay in your house and figure out now how to do things on the internet. Because that's what people are doing right now. They're plugged in front of their computers. They're on their smartphones. When they go outside, they've got the mask on to protect themselves. They're walking around essentially in fear. This society. They're worried about how they're going to make money for the next bills that are going to come in. They're worried and they're wondering, is my family going to be okay? They're wondering if they're going to have the breakthrough that they've always wanted to have, and if it's going to come to them. Have you ever been like driving in your car, and when you were driving in your car, you were listening to something? Maybe it was a radio voice, maybe it was an audio CD, like some person. Maybe you were watching something late at night, late night TV, an advertiser comes on, a radio and character is sharing on the screen, and you're wondering, how can I truly achieve the life that I always desire? A little bit stretch for some people to see how they're going to come out. They don't know a lot of times how they're going to buy their next meal. They don't know where their next paycheck's going to come from. And we just had, in the last 30 days or so, I've been watching these stats relatively carefully. And so we're headed right now into another recession. I've experienced actually quite the number of recessions over the course of my life. They've just kind of kept happening. They seem to happen in cycles. It seems like about pumps up, that the drama pumps up, and there's something that we have to get involved in, and there's some sort of opportunity that we have to gather together to do something new. And it seems that when everything is going down in one area of life, it seems like automatically at the same time, everything is going up in another area of life. Have you noticed that? It's like a scale. You have two sides of the scale. And what happens is if you put on one side a bunch of weight and that side of the scale goes down, what happens is at the same time you're pushing that side down, the other side of the scale goes up. And that's what seems like happens in the world and what seems like happens in the economy. It seems like that one aspect of the economy goes down. It seems like one more or two more go up. That when one product or one kind of business or one kind of industry goes down, because particularly that industry is in pain, it's not doing well, the people in it aren't doing well, they have to close their businesses, they have to close their doors, there's something else that goes up. Like for example, right now we have a lot of local businesses that are going to be really hurting over the next bit. Maybe they provide a service where they see people in person. They have something like a car lot, and normally their business is actually doing really, 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 really good. But right now, what's actually happening is because one side of the scale is flipped, what happens is their business goes down and another kind of business goes up. So anytime you're experiencing something in life where you're experiencing frustration in one area of your life, remember, not all of your life is experiencing that same frustration, right? What happens is one part of your life will go down and another part of your life at the same time, at the exact same time that part of your life is going down, another part of your life will go up. So anytime there's a great struggle that's presented itself in front of you, there's something else that is going to work for you that maybe you just haven't found yet. And if you keep looking for it, and you keep looking for the right thing that's going to have a doorway open up in front of you, new opportunities are going to come your way. And when new opportunities come your way, you're going to prosper in a new, abundant way. And I want you to remember that no matter what goes on, and no matter what's coming at you from your open up, for you to step to a new area of your life. It doesn't matter if somebody hurts you, if you have a business collapse, if you have a bunch of people in your life that have left you, if you have somebody really close to you in their life, they're actually temporary. And that at one point, all problems go through some kind of a cycle. Like if you think about like any problem that you've ever had before in your life, okay? It's going to operate in some sort of cycle that's going to go something like this. In other words, what's going to happen is at some point you're going to be fine, okay? You're driving down your car, you're totally fine on the road. Then all of a sudden something happens and you're in danger, and then there's like this peak, and then it's like there's something that happens that, like, maybe there's a car coming at you, maybe your car slips, something like that, and then what happens? You're just moving along towards your destination like you were before, right? So life is like that. What happens is, right? Yeah, thanks. He said, Mark Crosby says some of those powerful videos I've ever seen by yourself in terms, I think. And then I started succeeding in 2009, and then I went through some different phases, and it seems like everything has been shutting down. It seems like doorways have been closing. It seems like one thing after another has been going. I've been talking for a while in videos. Maybe you had a job for a while that you were excited about, some sort of a job that you had, and you were making more money than you've ever made in your life. Have you ever been in a spot where you've made more money than you've ever made in your entire life? Like you were in a space in your life where you just had money coming in, and it was almost like it would never end, and you were swimming in piles of cash. It was like you were Scrooge McDuck swimming. It's like you're walking out on a diving board, you jump in, and you're just swimming in a pile of gold and silver, and it just keeps exponentially compounding as you're swimming around. Somehow you found a way to actually swim in a pile of gold and silver. You ever been there before, right? And then something happens. Maybe there's an economic recession that you're really depending on, just stop shipping the products that your entire business. I was watching this Mike Dillard video the other day, and he said this is actually happening to a lot of people right now who've been running Shopify stores and who've been running e-commerce stores, that they've been shipping certain kinds of products. They've had suppliers for certain kinds of things for a very long time. Then all of a sudden, those whole industries are just shut down months at a time. And all those people are at ground zero with what they've been shipping. So they're looking for new offers and they're looking for new products. Now, I had a friend of mine that shot me a product the other day that somebody was selling on a Shopify store, $1 a day, doing something like Google display ads or something like that. So in the middle of all this chaos, in the middle of, and that's what he's doing right now, he's doing $10 million a day of one product, right? And in the middle of all this chaos, economy's collapsing, when people are filing for unemployment rate in record rates, when the economy is in such recession that the president of the United States has to print $2 trillion extra just to kind of keep it afloat, hoping that the summertime is going to knock out the spread of the coronavirus and that the numbers will go down in time for us to develop a cure. And let's, I'll pray for them that happens. Because I think that aren't we all doing this fantastic job right now in the last few years? Normally the world is like very divided about everything, aren't they? Like they fight about one thing, then they fight about another thing, and then after they're done fighting about that thing, a new problem comes up, then a new problem comes up, and a new problem comes up, then one thing collapses. Then after that thing collapses, another thing rises and falls, and it's like the waves coming in and going back, and everybody's fighting each other. It's like they've got sandballs and they're throwing them at each other in a little snowball fight up in Alaska, like when I was a kid. And then all of a sudden, a little invisible enemy comes along, and nobody can even see it together because they have a common enemy. It's funny that a vision didn't get everybody to work together, isn't it? It's funny that what actually got everybody in society working together towards something, for the first time in the last few years, people are all working together towards one thing. Think about that, right? We're all staying inside. The roads are all silenced. Emissions worldwide. Think all this carbon tax nonsense that we were selling at Greenpeace. I mean, I used to stand on street corners and get people to give me subscriptions for an environmental donation for Greenpeace. I was quite good at going to work, so my heart kind of left it. But what we were doing is essentially lobbying the federal government to tax carbon, right? Like, hey, why don't we all wear a little breather? We all exhale into the breather. Maybe we just add that to the gas mask, that everybody's wearing now. We track the breath, and if you breathe too much, bad. But they were trying to do that, like put little tracking devices on cars, so everybody basically has to keep their carbon. Now, all this stuff that people have been doing for years for these solutions, they've been trying to get people to lower emissions, can't even see And now what's everybody doing? Now what everybody's doing is their emissions in their cars are just going down. The use of fuel is just dropping off a cliff. The air is starting to smell better in cities all over the world. Animals are actually wandering up, and they're wandering that have been distracting us and keeping us afraid in the wilderness for so long. Isn't it interesting how the common enemy got everybody to work together and the common friend did not? That the common enemy was more powerful than the common friend for unifying the nations of the earth. Isn't that interesting? So in this video, I want to share with you some things about how to get done what you want to get done in your life on a massive scale. We're just logged into, like we're living in 1984, and luckily we're saving some lives in the meantime. So, you know, the force didn't work, the big communist push and the big commie plans didn't work. A little microorganism that nobody can even see just built and built and built and built and built and built and built, and now it just is exploding all over the world, and people are just staying inside, emissions going down, they're turning off their technology, they're just staring at the window, and they're just waiting and wondering, when's Big Brother going to tell us we can go outside again? It's weird how things happen, isn't it? There's always something that will start working when everything else stops working. Remember that. When something stops working, something else starts working at the same time. When one industry goes down, another one goes up. And everything moves in fluctuations and waves in life. Nothing in life that you experience is permanent the way that it is, okay? We're all used to thinking about our life, and then later in life we hope we can get a good job and get paid by a nice, safe, secure company forever. You know, there's this old saying that came from one of the founding fathers. Trade in our security, or we would trade in our freedom to have security, we wind up having neither. This is, of course, from one of the founding fathers. Security over our freedom, what happens is we wind up having neither. And isn't that what we're doing right now? What we're doing is we are scared. We want security. So what are we doing? We're giving up our freedom. And now, the problem with what we just did, let me explain it to you like this. The problem with what we just did as a society wasn't the fact that the government, John Muller said Bill Gates is a demon. I don't agree with that, but you know, whatever, right? I love you and thank you for being on my live. You know, by the way, just be sure to subscribe to my feeds and get my live updates. So, you know, what happens is that we don't realize that there's this principle with somewhere in the turn of the 20th century, so you had 1900 something. The graduated income tax was introduced because we were going through some financial hard times. And when it was introduced as something that was going to be small, okay, that we needed to solve some sort of certain problem. But then what happened is we introduced the graduated income tax. And of course, we gave them an inch and they took a mile. So what happened is over a period of time, the income tax had just kept increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. You say, what's that got to do with the situation right now? Well, right now we're in a situation where we just basically shut down the activity of the world because we're scared of a microorganism. And it makes sense because we do want to save lives. And even if the way I've been looking at it is, even if I'm not going to get too sick from, if I get that, I'll be fine. I don't want to accidentally infect somebody who's elderly and then have them go to the hospital and have them die because, you know, I wasn't willing to stay inside. So it makes sense that I participate and think about the overall good and the overarching, good of society, right? So the problem that I have with, of course, the situation is that I don't necessarily think that it will work, and I think that it's delaying the inevitable. And I think society is built wrong in order to be able we're built, everything moves in a cycle, repeating this drama that we essentially, we got to capitalize in some way if we're trying to make money. It hurts us in some way if it's on a down cycle. You know, just keep going and going and going and going in this cycle, and we think this is going to continue on forever, but we've got to understand something, that everything that we are experiencing in this life is impermanent. You know, the Buddha talked about that, about how we expect something to go in a certain way, And we expect that it will just continue to operate in that way. Like if we continue to do the same exact things that we've always done, that life will always be the same way that it always was, because it's just going to happen that way. But while we're thinking that, because we get very emotionally attached to things as human beings, we get very attached to our jobs, we get very attached to our professions, we get very attached to companies. I remember I was once in a company, I was once running a company I was very attached to my own self-detriment after a while. And we're very attached, and then all of a sudden, that business goes away, that job goes away, that product goes away. What we were doing stops working in the same way that it was working. It becomes more difficult. There's new competition that arises. New people try to copy 30 days. Do you think 30 days ago thought they were going to need a new job in 30 days? Maybe some of them. There's probably some people, no matter what was going to happen, whether there was a virus or whether there was an economic boom or whether there's a walking, talking panther walking down the road, represent a certain amount of those people. There's another group of that people that maybe they were looking for a new job anyway. Maybe they didn't like the job that they were in, and maybe they were going to transition and they were going to do it on their own, right? And then there's this giant group of people that they thought that if they continued to do the same thing that they were doing for the last 3 years, for the last 5 years, at least they're like, finally, I've got something that I enjoy being, and finally I'm in a place in my life where I like. They just thought it's going to continue on and continue on and continue on, and then boom, just like that, everything changes. Remember that when something goes down in life, it's like a scale, something else goes up. That wealth tends to change, it's like energy. It tends to change hands. It doesn't tend to disappear. There's a law in third seems to go away. It's because of another kind of energy is tending to appear, right? So money doesn't tend to go away. Money just tends to change hands. And there's a big wealth change that's happening. So let me talk about how to get what you want in the midst of all this and how to create what you want. And let me just give you some universal laws for creating what it is that you want, okay? Let me give you some basic things. And let me teach you how to manifest, because these principles will always stay the same. This is what tends to happen in life. It tends to happen, things that we think they're going to stay the same, they're going to remain in the exact same manner. They don't. Things actually tend to fluctuate, okay? So let me tell you some principles of how to manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest, okay? You ready for this? And actually, I think this would be helpful if you wrote these things down, because one thing that I've learned over the course of the years is I've learned how to manifest things. I've learned how to manifest what I want. I've learned how to manifest what I don't want. I've learned how to create large group scale manifestation. I've learned how to make it to where things, and I've sold lots of stuff, and I've gotten a lot of people to do what I want in the end, because eventually everybody winds up doing that. And why do they do that? They do that because I want to help them get what they want. That's actually why. So here's the first thing that I want to convey to you, okay? That you got to find out what people want, and you got to help them get that. So you got to find out what people want. This is the first thing to write down. And you got to help them get what they want. I remember I was driving around in my car, and I was like listening to these audios, trying to find the secret. And what they used to say is, if you pay attention to this entire presentation, if you pay attention to this whole video, if you listen to every word, like everything else is just silenced out, focused on it, you're going to learn a secret that you're not going to be able to learn in any other way. But in order to get that secret, if you really want it, everybody raise your hand who wants the secrets. Everybody's like this, and like, what's the secret? You got to pay attention, because you come to a conclusion if you pay attention that you've never come to before. And then all of a sudden your mind's like looking. And because you're looking, there's this thing called the reticular activating system in the mind, where in your biology, there's this book called The Biology of Belief. And it talks about the biology of belief, the effect of the belief system as it pertains to, for example, the immune system. How many of you think that there's a very strong possibility that placebo effect is having somewhat of a toll on who lives and who dies? At least they watch the news, they watch the stats, it puts them in lots of fear. And they believe, if I get the coronavirus, I'm in the age group, or if I get it, I'm going to die. Now, this is not responsible for all of the deaths. You can't say that. But you could say that probably, most likely, there's a good chunk of people that, because they believe that they're going to die, when they get it, they do, right? City, New York, and they said what they're saying at the hospital is that when somebody goes on a respirator, they don't come out. So the hospitals are having to make a decision, like, when I put somebody on a respirator, do I have enough respirators for all the new people that are coming in? Well, how many of you think that there's a very strong possibility that the belief of the doctors and the belief of the patients are affecting the lives and deaths of some people. This has actually happened before with cancer patients. It's happened with other diseases. They've proven it scientifically in different environments. I can't remember the guy's name, the guy that developed logotherapy. He was in a Nazi war camp, and he developed logotherapy out there. It's like, where you look at a strange symbol, and it's like A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl or something like this. Anyway, people asked him, they said, what was it that determined when somebody survived the Holocaust and when somebody died? And this is a serious situation. I mean, they did things to people that were just awful there. And there were some people that could handle it, and there were some people that they couldn't handle it. They died. And they died because they just gave up. And hold on to some sort of hope, right? That hope, when everything else didn't seem to work, that hope somehow kept people alive, that hope somehow kept people's biology running, that somehow their heart would keep pumping when somebody else's heart would fail, that hope would keep them alive. So there's a great power in hope. Hey, Nadia, that's who I was talking about, actually, right? There's a great hope, faith, there's a great power in hope, and there's a great power in faith. And when you believe in something, it actually causes biochemical changes to your biology that can create what some people would describe as miracles. So just remember that just because somebody else is going to die, that doesn't mean that you're going to, right? That you're in an independent situation, and if the doctor is fearful or if this person's fearful, you try to be faithful, and you try to believe that everything is going to be okay, because if you believe that everything's going to be okay, something around is going to change, and perhaps you are going to be okay now. Perhaps just because you believe, the industry goes up. In other words, when money goes out of one industry, it flows towards another. For example, right now, there's a lot of hiring going on at Amazon. Jeff Bezos announced that, this is recently, and he might, this might even be jumping up more. He announced that he's going to say, why is that? Well, because all the local businesses just took a hit, and people are still buying things. They still need supplies. And when they buy things and need supplies and they're afraid of going outside, where do they go? They go to home delivery. And it just so happens that Amazon has the best home delivery system that exists out in the marketplace. And so they're hiring while a lot of other people are firing, right? So there's, opportunities for jobs there. If you ultimately do need work and you need to provide for your family, for example, you could do Amazon delivery. There's some other risks present there, because that means that you're going and contacting different people. Money doesn't just, who has it tends to change, because everything in life is impermanent. So as one business goes down, another business goes up. As one stock goes down, another stock tends to go up. As one opportunity goes down, another opportunity tends to go up. So if you understand that, you can always position yourself in front of waves. That's the first thing. The second thing is to start doing things that if you help enough people get what they want, you're actually going to get what you want. So if you want to get something in your life, if you want to create something, if you want to manifest something that's extraordinary, perhaps, a great way to do that is by giving enough people whatever it is that they want to have. So, for example, I've seen, there's been, huge amounts of production in certain areas with different kinds of things. There was a company, check this out, that they made snorkel equipment, and they figured out, their snorkeling is going down because a bunch of beaches are closing and stuff. So this is actually a problem for them, because their business depends on people buying snorkeling equipment, right? So what they did was they took some of their technology for snorkelers, because that sales for that went down, and they figured out, they were a little bit creative, and then all of a sudden they made a new piece of technology, because the demand for respirators is going up in hospitals. And now all of a sudden they're selling way more than they normally sell, when a good majority of other things in the economy is actually cool. Then people are going to be attracted to you. And the more you can do that helps more people, the more people are going to be attracted to you. Okay. Here's the next thing that I'm going to give you that is really useful. Okay. That if you want to help create, I want you to think this through and take a pen out and maybe write something down on this, okay? And that's to be really, 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 really clear on what it is that you want in your life, okay? On what is it that you want here on that. The more clear you are on that, the more aligned something. In other words, if you know exactly what it is that your end outcome is to create this planned intention, and you're just completely focused on it, you're laser clear on it, you've got it written down, you've got it memorized, you have it recorded into an audio that you listen to when you wake up, versus that are around outside of you that are able to attract you to what it is that you want to create, okay? Presented by something. Like maybe it is that you want to make, a certain amount of money, and you want to, let's say you want to make $10,000 a month or something like this, okay? So visualize something that represents what you're going to be able to do in your life when you're making $10,000 a month. For a bunch of people, that's a big jump. So there's some sort of big jump in accompanying lifestyle. Maybe all you want to do is save money. So for example, you want to save $5,000 a month, and maybe you make $5,000 a month right now. You want to save some extra money so you have good emergency fund in case all shit hits the fan, right? So what you do is you just visualize yourself. You save $5,000 for a year, a month. You have staring at a computer logged into your bank account, and you click on your savings account, and right in front of you, you see $60,000, right? And just imagine it getting bigger. Imagine it getting brighter. And imagine the number growing. Like you just keep making more money, and it keeps coming to you even more easily because you're doing the right thing. So that number that you have in your bank account begins to exponentially grow because you actually see the numbers counting up. And it counts all the way up to 70. It counts all the way up to 80. It counts all the way up to 100,000. And you promised yourself that at $100,000, you were going to take a vacation to Cancun. I remember one time I went on a vacation to Bora Bora, and they spent $10,000, and I was out on these little houses that looked out over the ocean in Bora Bora, right? Sinking my toes into the water. I was hearing the waves roll in. I was looking up at the moonlight, and I remembered a few years earlier when I had written down, we'd all signed this thing that said in 2010 we're going to go to Bora Bora, and I was the only person in that group that just kept believing in my dreams. So I said, I'm going to be in Bora Bora. I'm going to be in Bora Bora. I'm going to be in Bora Bora. And I kept thinking about it, and then 2010 in Bora Bora, and written down on that piece of paper and said, I'm going to be in Bora Bora. That's it. Period. Right. So, what is it that you want to accomplish that that you can get a crystal clear image of? Maybe it's just being safe in your environment. My point is, if you get clear, okay, what's going to happen is your internal system is going to align with your external system, your life, the knowledge that's appearing in your life. So as you believe in yourself more, and as you get the resources, the monetary manifestations, the investment opportunities, the business opportunities, opportunities for job changes, the opportunities for education, the mentors, everything in your life that you wanted in order to be able to create these outcomes that you desire is going to start placing themselves in your life one by one by one right in front of you as if it's a movie. Now, I mean literally, if you're really attuned to what you want to create, what's going to happen is that people, ideas, resources, money, methods, mentors, everything that presenting themselves in front of you to see how you handle it, right? So as you begin handling those situations better, more decisions, and you treat the resources wisely that come to you, and you continue treating the opportunities that are presented themselves to you with respect, then what's going to happen is that more doorways are going to open, that more business partners are going, that more opportunities for monetization are going to manifest, that the right clients are going to appear, that your voice is going to get heard by the right people. So getting really clear internally is one of the things that is really important for you. The next thing is that's really important is that you need some sort of vehicle, okay? And it's not just gasoline in a bucket that has no technology. A car is a series of pieces of technology that have an engine, it has a carburetor, there's wheels, there's a mechanical. Depending on how much money you have is going to depend on the kind of car that you're going to get. But a car is a vehicle. And a vehicle, what it does is it gets you from point A to point B. You get in your car, you turn it on. For example, if you have a job, you drive to work. You turn your car on, you drive to the grocery store. You turn the car on, you drive to the new mountain that you've got, the new mansion that you've got on the top of a mountain, right? Whatever it is, your car is a vehicle that drives you to where you want to go, okay? So it's necessary in your journey of things that if you're here and you want to go here, that you have a vehicle that you can get into, that when you get into that vehicle, you can drive from point A to point B, right? That you can make a clear connecting point when you get in the car. Now, some cars, they can't handle certain terrain. For example, if you want to drive up a mountain, right, and it's got a dirt road, drive a BMW up that kind of a mountain. So it depends on what kind of terrain that you're faced with, on what kind of car, what kind of vehicle that you want. And the vehicle in this case is representing of something that you can get into. You can turn the key on, you can put it into gear, and you can drive towards your destination. That means you're putting in your work, and the vehicle, because of the work and the production, the gasoline that you're pouring into it, and the fact that you're using MapQuest or whatever your map thing is, the vehicle is driving you to your destination. It's driving you to the promised land, okay? And so there's different vehicles that are appropriate for, and they don't spend enough time thinking about the destination. Problem with that is that different vehicles get you to different kinds of destinations. So for example, a job is going to get you to a certain kind of destination in general. And a lot of people, they spend their whole lives thinking about, like, I want to be in this particular kind of job, or I want to be in this particular kind of profession, okay? But then they get to that profession and they find out that that profession isn't the vehicle to get them to where they want to go, so they start being dissatisfied with life. For example, they go through the education system, they go and they get a job, start thinking about it, and then they realize after a while, a lot of times their education they wanted to accomplish now, right? So they start to need a new vehicle. And they start looking for business opportunities, they start looking for different jobs. $1 a year now. I need some sort of a vehicle that's producing $150,000 a year in order to have this lifestyle that I want. So then what they do is they start looking for vehicles that start producing the desire that they want, and they're going to run into a totally different kind of education. If they're looking for a vehicle that gets them $150,000, looking for a vehicle that gets them $3,000 a month. Those are two totally different kind of vehicles. So the vehicle, you don't want to be too judgmental in the terms of everything about the vehicle. You want to make sure that what you're doing aligns with your values, that you're doing something that is selling products that are adding value to people. And then you want to be generally detached from what vehicle is going to be able to produce that particular outcome for you if you're more outcome oriented, right? There's a lot of things that you can do with your life, but there's a lot of things that are going to open up as opportunities over the next little bit. There's a lot of different options and different ways that you have right now of creating a major impact in the world, okay? There's a lot of ways that your vision can be heard. But in order to get your vision heard and in order to get in front of the right people, you've actually got to have a vehicle that's going to actually be able to produce that result that you want. And so to get that vehicle, first you need to be clear on the result, and then you can aim there. Now, the result is not the only thing. The result is part of it. Like, a lot of people will just think about financial result, for example. And at the end of the day, finances is important, but it's not everything, okay? Like, finances can really fix a lot of things in your life. However, your life can be really messed up with finances. It can be really messed up if you're broke. So balance, for example, do you want to work in something where you're just working nonstop day and night for the rest of your life to keep a business together that keeps falling apart? No, probably not. Do you want to do something that has ongoing residual income? Probably you do. Do you want to constantly be changing what you do? Do you mind? Some people don't mind constantly changing what they do to go to more and more heights of money. And then some other people are in it. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. When you're working, what are you willing to do? And what are you not willing to do? So for example, there's a time at which in your business, it's a good thing to be able to be able and willing to do anything that is legal, honest, and ethical to be able to produce a result, getting to get something going. That doesn't last forever. Like, do you want to be? It's okay if you're going to be doing a whole bunch of calls, for example, but some people like to do calls all day, and some people do not. Right? So, do you want to be in an environment where you have to make constant phone calls of making your plan? If the answer is it doesn't matter to me, as long as it's control. Like, I don't mind making all the phone calls in the world as long as everything feeds into a period of time where you're making calls, and then you're willing to actually shut off phone calls, except for on maybe big sales days. There's got to be exceptions to where, it's like, okay, I'm going to make an extra 100,000 this month. If I hang out for a couple of days, they have more volume, therefore you work more at those times and less at other times. This makes sense, right? But for example, if you're designing your business in a way that requires you to be on exponentially increasing amount of phone calls that never lets up, this is a problem in your future but they're managed, and you don't go beyond a certain amount, and you schedule it, and every time your income goes up, it's maybe the same amount of phone calls, but you're just charging more money. Now all of a sudden you're making phone calls, and it's actually making sense to the kind of business that you're building. So you want to be thinking in the terms of building your business about how you're actually building your life. Because there's ways of building your life that are really powerful and they're more long lasting, and there's ways of building your life that are very frustrating over a period of time. This vehicle around how you want your life to be, and that's the way that you want to build your vehicle, right? So you don't want to just go find a vehicle that looks hot and is pretty, for example. A lot of people do that. They're like, how do I find something that I can make money with? And then they're like, well, this car looks pretty and it goes fast, right? And those are their qualifications, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, they're like, this vehicle looks pretty and it goes fast, right? And so they get sucked into never-ending schemes because they want something that looks pretty and they want something that goes fast to increase the conversions, because the real people aren't making enough money in the scheme to prop up the scheme, so they hire the actors. So they have actors, and they usually have disclosures below, but they look pretty and they go fast, and so people pile into them. But that's important. Looking pretty and going fast is important, but it's not the only thing that's important in your life, right? So what's actually really important to you? I remember I was listening to this audio from Tony Robbins, and he said that his business, his motivation business, says, I don't do the motivation business for money because it makes me less money than the other things that I do. I'm doing it because my level of impact that I want to make, that I'm making, makes me feel good, and I get a tremendous amount. Are you doing something that, as a part of it, there's some part of it that makes you feel rewarded? And because you feel rewarded, you're going to be motivated to continue doing it. That's really important for long. There's a bunch of other things that are important in that, but I'm not going to cover all of them right now. The next thing is having something where you can work through others. There's different ways of exponentially expanding your ability to do things. And the ability to do things means money coming at you, influence that you want to create, and other things. There's different ways of acting harder. The only problem with working exponentially harder is it's like the growth of a disease or the growth of exponential investments. So you grow the amount of work that you do in the day forever. You have a limited amount of work that you can do. And as far as you can increase your capacity to work, you can increase your intelligence, you can increase your ability to get things done. But at the end of the day, it's important to realize, because there's other ways you have of exponentially expanding your capabilities, right? One of them is by leveraging your money. One of them is by leveraging, so you have your money. That's if you have a lot of money, you can do that. The other way is leveraging other people's money. So if other people have money and you can get them to give you their money to leverage it, then you can leverage other people's money. The other way is other people's time, right? So there's only a few ways of really creating leverage. So for example, what's a way of leveraging you is they money themselves. And some people, what they do is they go get a group of people giving them money to invest, right? So rather than just you going at something with your money, maybe you have limited resources, you go to a group of people and you find that there's ways of reaching out and getting resources from other people that make it so you have unlimited resources, right? So now all of a sudden you go from limited resources to unlimited resources, right? That's one way of doing it. Another way of money, consistent, and they just work for pay. So maybe you pay an employee, you're making $10,000 a month, and you pay an employee $2,000 a month. So now you're only making $8,000. You add another employee who produces another $2,000 a month and another $2,000 a month for them, and then you just continue adding to your income by adding to the amount of employees. So you can do this through employees, right? For example, by growing a sales force. You have a product that you're selling. You hire people to sell it. You're responsible for employees. Another way of doing it is through franchising. You have a business, and your business is working good. And then what happens is you model that business, and then you give it to people. They pay you a lump sum to be able to use your business model. You go find the real estate for them and all this stuff, and you make franchises. It's actually quite difficult. Another way of doing it would be, for example, what people do in network marketing, right? So the value of something like network marketing. I say I'm not doing network marketing right now, right? But let me tell you the value in it, because I went through a phase where I didn't so much, and I'm starting to like it again for a variety of reasons. But I don't know. I'll see what I'll do. So let me tell you the value of it, though. The value of the concept of it, okay? So the value of the concept of network marketing is this, is that you can only do a certain amount of hours, doing 3 hours a day. That's all you can do. So you can't really do a lot of work, and therefore you can't really make a lot of money if it's just you, the part-time business. But if you go out there and you create some sort of a leverage, let's say you can do 3 hours a day, and then you bring somebody in and they can do 3 hours a day. Now all of a sudden you have 6 hours a day going to build your income. Then if each one of them get one, then you have 4 people, and then 4 people, right, times 3 is you have 12 hours a day going to build your income. And if each one of them goes one, it doubles again, it doubles again, it doubles again, it doubles again, it doubles again. And then pretty soon you've got 1,000 people, and they're just doing 3 hours a day. So it's like, oh, big deal. But now you're earning a little bit of chunk off of those people, so then you earn a little bit of the work from 1,000 people. So now 1,000 people are doing 3 hours of work. So now what happens is you have 3,000 hours going to build your income. Now all of a sudden everybody's doing a little bit, and you're earning a lot doing very little yourself, but it's the group effort and the group team that kind of keeps that whole thing together. So network marketing is a valuable way to leverage your money if you don't have a lot of money to start another business. Another way of leveraging your money is leveraging your exposure. So for example, you only have the ability to talk to a certain amount of people in that target market every day. So if you go out in your target market and people, but let's say you have something like Facebook PPC, video marketing, and a capture page, and email marketing that can do a lot of the things that you're doing in person in an automated way. It can do all of it, because you can't really replace a personal conversation, but it can do a lot of it. So for example, value and to create relationships, right? So that's why I'm making this video available, because I'm not selling anything in this video. So in this video, for example, I'm giving a lot of value, and I'm telling you how to do things. And your mind is now all of a sudden open. And what I'm really trying to do more than anything is trying to get you to be creative. There's a million ways to do everything that you want to do in life if you just open your mind to possibilities. So if you stop being stuck in one mode, like I'm just in this company, that makes sense to you. So if you just open your mind to doing things in a new and easier, faster way, so now all of a sudden you've got a message, and this message works very predictably. So let's say you're talking to a certain amount of people, and a certain amount of people are buying a product. Well, now all of a sudden you realize you can move people email sequence with the videos, but you can get that in front of an exponentially greater crowd of people, because you don't have to do all the stuff one-on-one anymore. And now what you do is, rather than doing things one-on-one, you take all the people, for example, that are in the process of making a decision, and you bring them onto a webinar that you do once or twice a week. And then you do that webinar, and you realize that it's the same webinar that you're doing all the time. So then what you do is you put that in automated, you put together all the emails, you put together all the videos, you put together all the follow-up emails, you put together the product delivery, and then your goal is to then drive traffic into this process, and then it sells for you whether you work or not. Now, usually those processes that you build will continue to work the way that they worked originally, outside of the front end. So the front end is usually the thing that changes all the time. So for example, if you've got a business and you've got one product to sell, then another product to sell, then another product to sell, and you've got the sequence that you move people through. Usually the upsell processes in your sequence, they generally keep working the same way they did when you started a business for a long time. The process consistent. The upsells will tend to work the same, but it's good to make tweaks in there and stuff like that to make the whole process better. Usually the thing that doesn't keep working the same, the thing that's always the hardest thing to do, is the front end. The front end is a pain in the butt usually to maintain, right? So for example, you'll find that one offer works really good for a period of time. And then what happens usually is that offer stops working as good because you tap out the market, because competitors get a hold of it, because somebody knocks, somebody knocks off its competitor, because that front end in particular is no longer a market trend. And so people, for whatever reason, they stop wanting this thing. Okay? So then what happens is that front end becomes more difficult to sell. Right? Well, the back end actually maintains its ability to be sold as long as the front end keeps expanding and the target market remains about the same. So the back end process for building your business tends to remain the same. The front end tends to need to be a lot more flexible and bring in people from a lot of sources. And what happens on the front end, and by the front end, I mean a low cost, some sort of front end. You write something, you publish it, people buy it, and then they know your name because of something that you wrote, and they have rapport because they wrote your writing. And there's only a few ways of building rapport that are that good. Really, getting somebody to read a book that you wrote is nothing you really do is gonna build rapport better than writing a book that somebody that you wrote down, that somebody reads in their home and they read it from more and more rapport. Okay, so the more you can get people listening to you and reading you and hearing your voice and seeing your face, the more their trust for you, right? On the front end, maybe you write a book and you get a bunch of sales, and then the sales for that book start to go down. Maybe your solution is to continue writing books, okay? However, maybe you got a book and it just sells a consistent amount pretty much every day. Right? Well, maybe it's a good idea to write another book. Maybe a book could be a good example of front end. Good example of front end could be like a little cheap report. It could be, some sort of low-cost trial. Anything that gets a new person who hasn't bought before to buy a product with you is a front end, right? So when I'm talking about front end, I'm talking about that. Now, the problem with front ends, right, is that it's very difficult a lot of times to determine what the market's going to want. You have to figure this out through testing. So to actually take a lot of work to figure out a front end. And you want to have a front end, right, that's actually connected to your target audience that fits into your sequence of upsells. So for example, if I was selling do network marketing, for example, and then I was building a business with network marketers, this makes tons of sense because I'm selling a book about how to do network marketing to people that want to do network marketing. And then they're building a relationship, then I send them through a video sequence and I get on the phone and I close them. That'd probably be a pretty easy way to sell a lot of people into doing network marketing because I'm building trust. I'm moving them through a sequence, and then I'm on the phone, and then they already know who I am, and then I'm just closing them left and right. That's actually the kind of thing I used to do, right? That makes sense. But all of a sudden, if all of a sudden I'm trying to just get customers, so I'm selling tulips, right? Tulips are not related to network marketing. So if I sell a bunch of tulips and get a bunch of front ends for tulip sales, it's not necessarily going to affect my back end for doing network marketing on the back end. Does that make sense? So selling something on the front end doesn't necessarily mean your back end is going to go up. They have to be related and they have to be connected, right? So what's good is to have some sort of a scalable business where you have a lot of products that people can buy that are related and useful to them in some sort of a target market that's growing and expanding, okay? And it doesn't have to be the biggest market in the world if it's a niche that you're in that business and nobody competes with it because they don't even know how. For example, my brother, he's got a guitar store. Yeah, he makes good money at the guitar store. I can tell his income because he might not want me telling you how much money he's making, but he does well. It's like a near impossible to knock off because in order to knock it off, somebody could invest in a guitar store. They could hire employees to sell guitars. But at the end of the day, the reason why people like his store is because of him, and he likes doing that. He actually doesn't care about making money. He just cares about serving people, and he makes money along the way, and he cares people in his local community that you can only knock off if you have a personality like him, and he's one of the most unique people I've ever met. Not a bad kind of business to have. And that's what he likes to do because he likes serving people and likes bringing music to the world. What I want to do is that you have something that you can offer there that makes a lot of sense. Like I remember a long time ago, I used to do, I was in this attraction marketing niche, right? And the attraction marketing niche is actually really valuable because it taught me a lot. And I was in this niche, and it first taught me, and I start building, and I start teaching people what to do and everything like this, and I start making lots of money. And then I realized something. I realized that somewhat incestuous group of people, right? So yeah, Paul says we got to obey God better than men. Yeah, enough of the bullshit already. Right? This is good God rather than men, right? That's what Paul says. I'll talk about that later, perhaps, right? But what happens is I'm in this little niche, right? And then I realized something. I realized that no matter what I did in that niche, there was only so big I could get, because there's only a certain amount of people, and these people tend to stay about the same size and grow fractionally every year. But the niche stays there. It does stay there, okay? But there's only so many people in the niche. The niche is rather incestuous. And then the more you teach, by teaching more people to do it, it becomes more difficult to do what you're doing. You can't make money from it, and you can't learn what to do. Limited in its scope and its size. Does that make sense? And then what happened is I designed a business model to where it didn't have this same kind of capacity limitation. And that got me to making, you know, I don't know, I think the best month I ever made was like $500,000 or something like that. I got to a space where I realized something. I realized that all the stuff that I've been doing, it seems somewhat meaningless. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I think there's a ton of value in the things that I've learned over the years, right? And I'm about done with this video. I just want to give you some value today. I realized that a lot of the stuff that I've been doing in the long term, it's meaningless. And you say, what do you mean it's meaningless? Well, you're building businesses that go up and down. You're selling products that are here today and gone tomorrow. And you're changing people in a way that they change and need to change again. And you're not doing something that's really great. So I started thinking over the last little while in particular, I've been thinking about this for the last couple of years. It's like, how can we do something that is so big that it's on like a world scale, that a thing that we do, it literally changes everything around us. And what I know is that if you want to change something that's really big, you got to go after a change that's really big to change something that matches it. So in order to make to realize something, I realized something, that the most important things in life need to stay in the balance in a certain way as you're going to the top. So now I want to do something that's like, rather than this, like this big, it's like, now I want to do something that's like this big. It's like bigger than I can't even like people in a way that changes them forever, that changes them in a way that that the value of it never goes away, that what I bring to them alters who they are, like at its core, and carries them through a destiny in the future that destiny never ends. So that's where I'm at right now. I hope this video, and I'm working on that right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm working on it. So I hope this video got you understand that you've never been at before with what you're accomplishing, with what you're seeing, to impact more people, to change the lives of the people around you, to become somebody that's better. Continue watching. I'm unable to turn it off. Here we go. Hold on. We got slow internet back here. All right, I'm on YouTube. All right, on YouTube, King Henry V was this is on YouTube. King Henry V was the real Antichrist. Yeah, the internet's poor here if I'm going in and out. Turning that off, the live is ending on Facebook. So the Antichrist. Well, the Bible says there's many Antichrists. So there's been many of them. There's not just one. There's a lot. No, that's for the King David channel. Let's talk about that more so here. Anyway, I hope that this helps you, and that something in your life changes because you watch this video. I don't know if I'm coming back to internet marketing. Right now this is my other job. I realized something, that in order to be able to create what I want, I've got to be able to get people in an environment where I'm giving them what they want and I'm attracting them. And there's certain things that I'm good at. And right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to aim what I want at creating something that's like an actionable next step plan for people. And I'm seeing how people respond to different kinds of things. And then I'm building a plan, because I want to go out there. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make a bunch of money again. That's not a question about it. I'm always going to do that. But it's more about, I want to create something that is totally different. Like, I want to create a new society and a new civilization, because I think this one that we're in is just broken, and I wanted to go out there and help people fix it. And fixing it, I don't think is a solution. I don't know if it's a solution anymore. I think it might be too late. I think that we need to create a new one. And that's what I did before. We did, but really did that once before. We created a new kind of a civilization. Like, previous lives, you want to empower, kind of. Well, what I did in empower was like one level and one group. And what I want to do in the future is something entirely. It's like empower was really good at helping people to create certain kinds of results and outcomes. Empower was a good model for building something that grows. Empower had some flaws and imperfections and some things that were really amazing about it. But really, I learned in Empower what's possible for me to do. Anyway, yeah, it was hot shit at the time, Anyways, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being here. And I appreciate all of you that have been watching and all of you that have been supporting me. And I'm very thankful for you. If there was a service that powerful and you believed in the content, would you help build it right now or not at this time? Well, it depends. Depends. I mean, I think that ultimately, for me, I want to create world peace. And until I find a way that's going to be able to do that, I don't know what I'm going to be able to align with. Because I see the world falling into chaos at one point or another. Maybe not right now. It's definitely falling into some chaos now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about this level of chaos. I'm talking about a level of chaos that's exponentially beyond where we are right now. And I only see one path of fixing this before it gets out of control. And that path didn't open up because it's not time. And I don't know if we're going to have one of a few options in the future. And some of those options are really out there. And if we don't do it in the right way, society won't work. And that's the problem I see, is that what we're doing, it just isn't working. It's not that one person's doing a bad job, good job, whatever. It's that the overall thing is not designed from the ground up to be there forever and to prosper forever. It's just not. So what we have is we have constant wars and contentions, constant fighting over who's right, constant boom and bust cycles, constant plagues and diseases. This isn't the only disease plaguing humanity. I mean, HIV is pretty out of control too. This is just something that popped up along the way. But it's the fact that we even have the diseases in the first place that's the problem, because we don't have to. And I've been telling people that for a long time. It's not like I'm immune from all sicknesses right now or anything like that. I still get sick. It's that we don't even have to get them. Society doesn't have to get them. We don't have to just destroy as we create all the time. And that's what we do. It's not all we do. Sometimes we do things where we create and we create. But sometimes all we do is we create and destroy and create and destroy. We don't have to do it this way. And I don't have all the answers yet. And what I know is that I'm here for you. And I know that I'm going to be here for you and that I care about you and that you matter. And I've been worried about your families, your children, your wives, your husbands. Been worried about your futures, your businesses, your lives, And so I'm here to help. And I'm going to help when I see a way to gather people. Because what I know is that you can't just gather people behind an idea that's not, when all the things in it aren't right. Ideas, they work when they begin to resonate with people. Ideas grow. Somebody asked if I'm still a millionaire. No. I went through a period where I lost everything. I've been rebuilding and stuff and making money again. Yeah, I lost everything. Yeah, I lost everything. And then I learned why I lost everything. And I started to build with people again and stuff like that. I'm doing stuff behind the scenes and whatever. But I would never lose money like that again. And I know how to make the money. How I make the money is easy. No, Curtis, what I did, I'm not going to talk about this in this video. I'll do another video. I just made a story video about it, right? The reality is that life goes in cycles and goes in circles, and there was a lot of things that I was supposed to learn. And there's a lot of things that we're supposed to learn together. And the reality is that what happens with ideas, let me explain it like this, okay? Ideas, new ideas in particular, they tend to flare energy out in every direction. And maybe the idea just makes people run away, for example. That happened to me in the last few years. Okay? It was like my ideas, just like put them out there and people started to run away. I'm like, okay. Then I realized, okay, maybe it's the way that I'm putting out there. Then I realized it's maybe the people I'm putting out there. Then I realized maybe it's the way that I'm presenting this itself. Right? Right? Curtis, I'm not going to talk about that right now, bro. It's not the right video. Maybe another video. We've talked about this before. Okay? So it really is not your business. Like, I'm not going to talk about it. So my point is, what ideas do is ideas, they burst. And then what they do is they start to resonate. And when they start to resonate, there's like a field that gets created. And then the field, it starts to catch. And when you've got a combination of ideas, consistency, right? Some sort of a market or a movement that can grow, and a critical mass of people, the idea spread and it catches beyond a certain capacity. And then that idea begins to exponentially expand. And you could look at how religions grow, you could look at how businesses grow, you could look at how network marketing grows. That's what happens. In order for it to go from here to here, you've got to go through these resonance phases where the idea is catching, and the belief gets sufficient in order to actually be able to do so. In order to be able to get there, you got to have some sort of doorway open, some sort of opportunity present itself, and you got to do the right things along the way in order to be able to get there. So there's a way I will be able to accomplish everything that I've ever been put in my heart. Because I didn't put any of the stuff that I want in my heart. It was put there. I was born with some of this stuff. There'll be a way that will open up for all of it. And it might take 10 years, it might take 300. I'm not bothered about how long it takes. What I know is if I continue believing and continue opening up possibilities, you'll hit a wave and you ride that wave and the wave will just grab attention everywhere and grow. And that's where my abilities come across. My ability, like for example, this video I'm doing now, I've got 4 people on the video I'm doing now, okay? The thing that hampers me from being able to do true miracles is belief. Now there's people that have been in history that have been able to do things just, on their own with their mind or whatever, And there's things in life that have opened up where, you can do something. But really, with me, the thing that hampers me or repels me is the belief in energy that because I'm designed to work through other people. Some of us are built like that. Some of us are built to do it on our own. I'm designed to work through others. So I have, for example, right now, talking to you, the capacity to create some kind of a change in 4 people. And I have the group energy of about 4 people that are on this, YouTube video right now. Okay? If I wanted to, I could promote this a lot more. I could send it to a list. I could do all this stuff. But it's not really what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of waiting to see what grows. And then once I've got something that grows already, I just add fuel to it, okay? But I have the capacity to work through this amount of people, okay? Well, the combined energy of this group is the combined energy that I can work from. If I had 400 people in here, I would have the combined energy of 400 people to work through to be able to create. If I had 400,000, it would be something different. My ability to really be able to create and really be able to change outcomes, it comes from the ability that I've got to inspire change into people that is unlike anybody that I've ever met. I've met other people that can change. Oh, this is just a ring I got at a park. It's got an eagle on it, right? Like there's a nature park, and I bought a ring because I like the eagle. I thought it represented peace, and so I got it. So my dad got me this shirt, right? Moses was the first person with a tablet downloading data from the cloud. That's what it says. And I don't know if he was the first, but he was up there. He was the first in this cycle of things. So my point is with this, okay? My point is with this, is that my ability grows as my faith grows. My faith grows as the people grow and they begin believing. People's faith is fickle. I've done things in the past that have hurt people's faith. People have done things to me that have hurt my faith in them. My desire to really help people for a long time was just so hurt. I just didn't do anything. Because I didn't do anything but write and talk because I was hurt. Because I really wanted the people around me to unify behind me and to show me and show for example, my family that I'm important. And so I just stopped. I just didn't care. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I don't, I won't. It's that I didn't care. It's not what I wanted. I wanted people to believe. And I reached a point recently where I realized something. I realized that I've got to give everybody things in chunks. That the way that I was going wasn't going to get the movement that I needed. And that I need to approach it in a new way. And you're here for that. And what we really need to do together is we need to figure out how to first unify and put our differences in the past. Put our belief differences to the side. Unify. I learned something a long time ago. I'm going to repeat it here for you. I learned that it is more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. It's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. It's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. It's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. We got to unify somehow around a vision that pulls everyone together. And if we can't do that, nothing's worth doing. Might as well go live in the mountains and meditate for 10 years. That's how I feel about it. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is unifying people and doing something together. Because that's what makes it worth it to me. That's what matters to me. Unifying and doing something together so we can say at the end of the day, we did it together. So I have this vision where we've got millions of people gathered in one location. We're all lifting our hands in the air, saying, we did it together. We did it together. We did it together. The emissions are going down. Prosperity is going up. We're integrating with the environment. The death toll from all forms of diseases is dropping. Poverty is being eliminated. And we're all lifting up our hands and we're saying, we did it together. Without that, it's nothing. Without that, nothing I do is important. Without that, why bother with anything? I made a mistake this last year where I waited a long time. I didn't really get anything done because I was waiting for my wife to come back. And then I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited, and I ended up getting hurt. When I could have gone out and I could have done something, but I felt like I needed her by my side. And I feel like still I would do a lot better if she was there. Because without other people's energy, my energy doesn't work. It's not just her, it's without people, my energy doesn't work. I know what to do with people, I don't know what to do alone. So I want you to remember that, because people are different. There's people like me are there. My whole thing and everything about what I'm about is about being one of the people, being just like people. That's why it's all here, I'm telling you. Everything's here for that. So we can all just enter into this new environment with each other. So we can lock arms and we can do something together. So we can do it together. That's what it's about. That's why we're here. That's the whole purpose of it. So we can do it together. So unity, therefore, and vision that draws the people, that gets us to actually work together, that gets us to actually do it together. This is actually what it's all about. See ya.